All right. So once again, for those on YouTube, welcome for joining. No, welcome, and thank you for joining our Zoom tonight. This is all about the money Zoom, and we're going to get started. So Teresa, you can go right ahead.
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry. All right. So good evening, everyone. So as I said, my name is Teresa Steinkamp. I'm the advising director at the Scholarship Foundation. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm going to kind of run through like a really high level, not super weedy overview of Financial Aid 101. So bear with me for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. And then if you have questions, you will get my contact information and we can definitely continue the conversation because there is always something more to learn about financial aid. So we're going to start by talking about what is included in financial aid. So when you hear this term financial aid, what does that actually mean? What are we talking about? So first are grants. Grants are free money, and we're going to talk more specifically about some things to know about grants and some types and sources of grants in just a moment. The second form of financial aid is scholarships, and you all have probably heard us talk about scholarships. You probably have heard other people talk about scholarships. And grants and scholarships are typically the aid that students want to maximize. That's the money that you want to try to have as much of as possible to pay for school. The third kind of financial aid is work study. And personally, I'm a really big advocate of work study because I benefited from it in college and it was a great resource and opportunity for me. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what it is, why you might check it out, and what are the benefits to it as well. And then the final kind of financial aid is student loan. So you probably have heard about student loans too, and you've probably heard the opposite that what you've heard about grants and scholarships. You want to be trying to minimize student loans because they have to be repaid almost always plus interest. And so although borrowing to pay for college is not a bad thing, it is definitely wise to reduce the amount that you borrow and to be mindful about which loans you're taking out. So we'll talk more about loans as well. So we're going to start with grants. And so these are like when I thought about what are the key things that I really want you to know about grants, these were the things that I thought about. So we're actually going to start with that bottom gear, the big gear at the bottom. Grants are gift aid, and gift aid means that you do not need to repay it. And that is probably one of the single most important things to understand about grants is that it is free money. You don't have to repay it. You might need to do something to get it and to renew it, but you don't need to pay it back. Moving up, that second gear is need-based. So that doesn't mean that it always has a financial need component or that there's not an academic component, but by and large, grants are more likely to have some kind of financial need consideration, meaning they're looking at you and your family's financial circumstances, your ability to pay for college. And so that's why this third gear about filing the FAFSA is also really important. So it was 2 weeks ago we met, the day before the FAFSA opened. And the FAFSA is a really critical application to being considered for grants. And we're going to talk about some of those specific grants now. So this left column here, we have 2 federal grants that I really want you to be aware of. So the first is a federal Pell Grant. This is, so again, need-based. It's a federal grant. It follows you. So if you file your FAFSA and you are eligible for a federal Pell Grant, it's going to go with you wherever you go to school. It will follow you if you go to the community college, if you go to a 4-year public, or if you go to a 4-year private. It is awarded to you regardless of where you go. Right now, the maximum grant is $6,495. And it's possible to qualify for a Pell Grant and not qualify for that large of an amount. So how much a student qualifies for is based on their expected family contribution, which is what the FAFSA calculates. So the reason why I share that is because I want you to understand that the purchasing power, what a Pell Grant gets you, depends on where you go to school. So if I qualify for a full Pell, that's going to pay for everything at the community college. It's going to pay for a share at a 4-year public, and it's going to pay for a much smaller share at a 4-year private, okay? So I think those are the big things I want you to know about Pell. But again, filing your FAFSA is key. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't already done it, to make sure you get on and do it as soon as possible. The second federal grant you'll see below, and you'll see that it's like a whole bunch of letters, and that's because it's like the world's longest name for a grant. It's the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, kind of a mouthful. So you will almost always see it abbreviated as FSEOG or SEOG. So also a federal grant, also need-based. Key difference, it is campus-based. So if I file my FAFSA and I list 5 colleges on my FAFSA, it's possible that 3 of those colleges participate in the SEOG program and 2 of them do not. So, you know, the other piece is that it's first come, first serve. So if I'm talking about, if I'm thinking about like maximizing my financial aid, if I think there's a chance I'm Pell eligible, it's really important to get my FAFSA filed as soon as possible, because the fact that SEOG is both campus-based and first come, first serve means that a lot of colleges that have budgets for it don't have huge budgets. And so the awards can be, honestly, they can be offered to students who file their FAFSAs in the first few weeks of October. So maximize your aid, get that FAFSA filed if you haven't already. So we're going to move to the state programs. So these are specific to Missouri, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about A+, because you probably know a fair amount about A+ if your high school participates. What I want you to know is that you do have to file your FAFSA. And the reason why you have to file your FAFSA is because the state of Missouri would like to know if you are eligible for a federal Pell Grant. And if you are eligible for a federal Pell Grant, that will be applied to your bill at the community college first. A+ only comes in after Pell, and only if tuition and fees have not been covered by a Pell Grant. So even if your plan is to go to the community college and use A+, you have to have that FAFSA filed. Now, Access Missouri is the state of Missouri's need-based grant. So again, financial need is a consideration here. You have to file the FAFSA. You have to have your FAFSA on file no later than February 1st to be guaranteed consideration. And as a Missouri resident, you would have to stay at a Missouri institution to qualify for it. The minimum award is $1,500, and it sounds weird to say the minimum award as opposed to a maximum, but that's because the state has never really budgeted enough in the program to approach a maximum. So we talk about the minimum as being $1,500, but if the state has more money that they've allocated to the program, it would be possible to get closer to $1,700, $1,800, maybe closer to $2,000, okay? All right, so now let's talk about scholarships. So we're gonna start again at the bottom gear. So this is gift aid. Free money, doesn't need to be repaid. That's why you want as much of this kind of financial assistance as you can accomplish. Scholarships tend to be merit-based. So again, there may be a need consideration, but they are more likely to be looking at something that you have accomplished or achieved. Academics, artistic, athletics. They're not all going to have an ACT or SAT score requirement, but many of them do. Don't fret. There may be other scholarships out there that don't have a merit component. So I've had a lot of conversations in recent weeks, and you know, y'all can laugh at me, but really there's a scholarship for students who are left-handed. There are really scholarships for students who are vegetarian. So think about like what's unique about you, and then do some research based on those unique attributes and see what is out there, because you honestly might be surprised. There's all kinds of unique opportunities out there. And then the next piece to know is that there are almost always separate applications. So you will likely have to do something above and beyond the FAFSA to apply for and be considered for scholarships. So I don't have more about scholarships because there are so many out there, but I am going to talk to you about one at the end of the presentation that I think you'll be excited to learn about. So we're going to move into work study. So this bottom gear here is a little bit different. Work study is self-help aid. So that means you have to do something to receive it. And in the case of work study, you have to get a job, work the job, and then you have the financial assistance come to you in the form of a paycheck. One of the benefits to work study, both from my experience and what I've seen from other students, is in that name, work study. So most work study jobs allow you to do homework in downtime. And that's a benefit because if you're a student like I was who needed to work while they were in college, but also really wanted to be sure that my schoolwork or your schoolwork doesn't slip to the side, work study jobs are great because if you have an hour of your shift where you don't have a responsibility for the job, you're supposed to be able to work on homework during that time. And so it's a great way to accomplish both priorities that you may have for yourself. Work study is need-based. So that's something that I think surprises some people. There is a financial need consideration, but there's no EFC cutoff. And again, it is a campus-based program, so not all colleges have work study awards, and the ones that do have a limited pot of money. And once those awards have been made for the year, you have to wait until next year to potentially receive those dollars. And the FAFSA is required. There is actually a question on the FAFSA that asks if you want to be considered for work study, and you have to indicate yes if you would like to potentially see it on a financial aid package. If you haven't already filed your FAFSA yet, my recommendation to everyone is to say yes, because you can always turn it down later if you don't need it or want it. And it's better to be in a position of having financial aid that's been offered to you that you don't need versus needing to find more money that you don't have. All right, so we're going to talk next about loans. So loans are also self-help aid, and it's different than work study self-help. Loans have to be repaid, again, almost always with interest. So you're going to pay them back more than what they issued to you to pay for school. And it sounds weird, but some loans are need-based, and we'll talk about how that looks in just on the next slide. And again, the FAFSA is required. So you have to do the FAFSA in order to be considered for federal loans. With some exception, at the Scholarship Foundation, you have to have your FAFSA on file. The exception would be for students who are ineligible to file the FAFSA. We have a separate application or a separate document that we ask students to upload or submit as part of the application that is in place of the FAFSA information. And most financial aid offices honestly won't even approve a private loan from a bank without a FAFSA on file. So it's really, again, important even for student loans. All right, so on this slide, you'll see that I've broken this up into better loans or not so good loans. And I'm going to be one of many people, I'm sure, who will tell you that if you can avoid borrowing altogether, do it. Don't borrow if you don't need to. But many students do need to borrow. I was one of them. So definitely no judgment for borrowing, but I would want for you to borrow as little as possible and none if you can avoid it, because that's a best case scenario. But if you need to borrow, the better loans are the loans on the left-hand column. And so the first is the subsidized direct loan. So this is a federal loan. It is made to the student, and this is the need-based federal loan. And the reason why it has a need component is because of that subsidy. So students who have financial need qualify for a portion of their federal loans to be subsidized, and the federal government will pay the interest for you while you're in school, during grace, which is the period of time between you leave school and enter repayment, and then during some periods of deferment and forbearance. So you are only responsible for the interest that accrues on a subsidized loan while you are actively in repayment. Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, I have a kiddo here with me who needs a little bit of help. So you are only responsible for that interest that accrues while you are actively in repayment, okay? So that's a better deal because you will save several years worth of interest accrual via the subsidized Stafford or the subsidized direct loan. The most you can borrow in this particular loan as an undergrad is $23,000. So that's not a lot. As a first year student, you're eligible for $3,500. As a sophomore, it would be $4,500. And as a junior and beyond, it would be $5,500. So we're not talking about lots and lots of borrowing in this particular loan. And even keep in mind, you'll hear me say this hopefully throughout the year and into next summer, but you are not required to borrow everything a school offers you. So if they give you $3,500 and you're like, yeah, I really only need $1,000, you have the ability to accept partial loan amounts, and that's important to know. So the next better loan option is the Scholarship Foundation's interest-free loan. You'll hear us talk about this more later, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, but what you need to know for now is that this is a loan that is interest-free, fee-free always, and you can apply for that in the spring semester, and I'd be happy to answer additional questions. I realize I'm taking longer than I expected, so I apologize. So the not so good loans, the unsubsidized direct loan is the opposite of the subsidized. So the government is never paying that interest for you, which means the minute the money is applied to your account, that interest is growing and you are responsible for all of it. So dollar for dollar, it just costs you more to borrow the unsubsidized, okay? And it's not need-based, so I can virtually guarantee that if you file a FAFSA, you're gonna qualify for an unsubsidized Stafford. Doesn't mean you need to borrow it, it just means they're probably gonna offer it to you. Now, this next loan you'll see here is the parent loan for undergraduate students, or what's called the PLUS. So this would be your parent, if you are listing parent information on your FAFSA, borrowing to help pay for your education. So it is the parent's loan. The parent has to pass a credit check, and for better or for worse, it's not as difficult a credit check to pass as what you would find at a bank. So they're primarily looking at delinquency notices. Here are the key things to know about why this is a loan to be wary of. The interest rate on the loan is higher, so it's like 7% this year, and it's capped at 10.5, which is kind of steep for an interest rate on a federal loan. The amounts that a parent can borrow can go up to the cost of the student's education minus other financial aid awarded, which, like, what does that actually mean? It means I've seen schools offer a parent a loan for $40,000 for 1 year. For 1 year. So if you multiply that by 4 or 5 years, that is a lot for a parent to take on. And we would encourage you to not do that to the extent that you can, okay? All right. So, oh, I already covered like all of this. So now you've got all of the details on the screen, and Edges has the PowerPoint, so you'll be able to like go through and like review this. I also have some more information that I can share, and you can look, if you want to do more weedy, deeper dive details, you can certainly do that. All right, so here's the sort of like exciting like close to all of this, is that as a participant in Wyman, you have the opportunity to apply for a really awesome scholarship opportunity. So this scholarship is called the New Era Scholarship. So this is a renewable scholarship of up to $12,000 for up to 5 years. So like sit and think about that for a second. A scholarship of up to $12,000 per school year that is renewable for up to 5 years. That's a lot of financial assistance that you could potentially receive by applying for this scholarship. You have to apply as a high school senior. So this coming spring semester is go time. Unfortunately, if you miss the deadline in the spring semester of your senior year, it will not be open to you to apply in the future. But that's why I'm here. That's why Wyman is here, to help you. If this is something that you are interested in and that you would like to apply for, I promise you that you will be sick of me by April 15th, because I will do everything in my power to try to remind you to get you across that finish line if this is something that you want. You can begin applying on Scholarship Central starting January 1st. So the piece you can do now is your general application, but the rest of the application will open January 1st. You'll see some additional information here about eligibility. So academics would be a 2.0 cumulative GPA or higher. There's no ACT or SAT test score. We're looking for students who have a 2.0 cumulative and whose academics align with their career interest and goals. We're also going to look at your character. So what does that mean? It means that we're looking to see, is your application honest? Do you show good judgment? What does the recommender have to say about you? So think about who knows you well, who's going to say positive things about you. I know I see lots of recommendations from Wyman coaches, so think about who at Wyman would love to sing your praises for this incredible scholarship opportunity, and make sure you ask them early. They get lots of these and would love to have ample time to work on this. And then the third piece, and honestly, the most important thing, this is like our North Star guiding us, is financial need. So if you have financial need, if you need financial assistance to pay for your education, that is the piece that we are looking at most closely. So there are two ways that we look at this. One, that expected family contribution from the FAFSA. So right now your EFC has to be below $15,000 to qualify. If you file your FAFSA and your EFC is above that, and you're thinking you might have special circumstances, or you want to talk about that, call the Scholarship Foundation and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. And then the second thing is, we are looking to cover all of your unmet need. So we want our funding, whether it's the New Era Scholarship and or an interest-free loan from the Scholarship Foundation, we want that to be last dollar funding. So we don't want you having to take out federal loans at all if we can help you avoid doing that. So here's sort of like, people are always like, what's the catch? The catch, you might think of it as a catch, is that the scholarship has to be used at a school in Missouri, community college, four-year public, four-year private. So any college in Missouri that you can think of that meets those pieces and is nonprofit. So again, the community college, UMSL, Mizzou, SEMO, Missouri State, Northwest Missouri State, SLU, MOBAP, Maryville, Stevens, all of those colleges qualify. And there are a handful of Illinois schools. So I'll make sure Edges has the list of eligible schools to share with you. We are not trying to keep you from your dream school. We just want to try to keep this as affordable as possible for you. And again, minimize or eliminate that student loan debt if at all possible. So I am here to help. Please call me, email me, text me, whatever I can do. I am here to assist and would love to help you navigate this application. I think the final thing that I should say about the New Era Scholarship is that there are 150 spots in this program. So I do not know how many we have that we've awarded this year, but you're not competing for like one scholarship, right? Like this is a great scholarship that is open to 150 students per year. And so that's a really incredible opportunity. And I really hope you will apply. And I really hope you will let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Edges. And I'm going to drop a link or two in the chat here real quick before.
Yes, drop the links. Yes, y'all. So y'all have no excuse not to get this money. This is literally for Wyman students. Y'all have an exclusive scholarship that your other friends who aren't Wyman don't have the opportunity to. So I wanted to leave time for questions. So we're going to dive into more scholarships. We do have a lot of other scholarships to talk about, but I know Teresa touched on a lot. And I know the New Era Scholarship is really great. So does anyone have any questions about the scholarship? How to get it, what you would need? I know I have some parents on, so does anyone have questions about anything Teresa just went over? You can put it in the chat, you can come off mute, but I did want to leave time for y'all to ask some questions really quickly.
Hi, I had a question. I missed what Teresa said the EFC had to be, or the max that it could be.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So the expected family contribution cutoff is $15,000. Okay. And again, if your EFC is above that and your circumstances have changed since 2020, because 2020 was a lot and things have been, I know, challenging for many families, then that would be a conversation to have with us and even potentially the financial aid office at the college about what's called a special circumstances appeal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, does anyone else have any questions about anything Teresa just went over? All right, wonderful. Well, we will keep it pushing, and I will now dive into talking about more of what we have going on the Wyman side. So let me share my screen for one moment. Give me 1 minute. All right, got that one open. Okay, hey y'all. So I'm going to cover the partnership scholarship. So Teresa just went over the New Era Scholarship, and I'm going to go over all of the rest of them. So I'm just going to open up this PDF. So you all will be sent this information as well. So I'm going to send the PowerPoint Teresa sent. Y'all are going to get an email with just a lot of documents. So just get ready, but read through it. And if you have questions, talk to your coach. All right. So the next scholarship I know a lot of you know of is the Missouri State Scholarship that we have in partnership with Missouri State University. And so on the screen right now is the eligibility requirements, the application requirements, everything you literally need to know about this scholarship, and it'll look like that for all of them. So I'll just kind of skim over what you need for each scholarship, and if y'all have questions, you can ask them at the end of once I run through all of them. So the first one, the most popular one, is the MSU scholarship, and this one will become available hopefully by the end of the month on Scholarship Central. And so in order to do this scholarship, you would have to apply on Scholarship Central. You will need a 2.7 GPA. You will have needed to be admitted into Missouri State. So I believe the application for this scholarship, the deadline is probably, I want to say in December. Yes, it closes in mid-December. So you have time to get admitted into MSU, but that is a requirement for actually applying. You need to be admitted into the school. And this is for high school seniors, obviously, who are graduating graduating and who desire to actually go to Missouri State. Definitely it helps to be involved and be in community service and have financial need, because what the process looks like is that if you apply and you meet the requirements, then you will move on to the next round, which is an actual interview with the board of Wyman, the people who actually write the check. Like, these are people who are actually funding and writing the check to fund your education. So you definitely want to have some things to talk about, so your involvement, who you are, what you like. And I'm giving you the tea. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm giving you all the tea and how this goes. So you'll have an interview with the board, and then they will decide on who moves to the final round, which is to actually get the scholarship. Typically they award 2 to 3 students. Last year we were able to finesse 4 students to get it through. So, you know, if you're a part of Wyman, if you actually participate, if we know you and we know you can do it, I can vouch for you in those meetings with the board, and I can finesse you in there. Okay, we're supposed to get 2 students. I got 4. So, you know, make it make sense. If you want to go to MSU and you have what it takes, I can make it work for you. And so that's how that whole process goes. And so, of course, to apply, you need to have an SAT or ACT score. A resume would be great, but we definitely need your high school transcript. The FAFSA is very important because we'll need your student aid report. And that is the whole point of why you do the FAFSA, is to get your student aid report so people can see that EFC, which a parent asked about, so that we can know kind of what your need is, and the board can know how much money you actually need. So when they write that check, they know what we're doing. You will need to write 2 essays. That will be on the application when it drops on Scholarship Central. We will let y'all know when that opens. And so what it all comes down to is that the board actually awards, you get up to $5,000 a year. Your tuition is covered, your room and board is covered. The only thing it doesn't cover, I believe, is books. But if you get the New Era Scholarship, obviously that little bit of money can cover that. But it's essentially, it's not a full free ride, but it's almost there, okay? So it's almost there. So this is the most popular scholarship that people apply for. So that's the biggest one. I wanted to let you all know about that one because it's the most popular, and it's the biggest one that could take care of your financial troubles. So that's the first one. Then the second one is at SEMO, so Southeast Missouri State University. This scholarship also will be available on Scholarship Central later on in the month. Hopefully you can do that one there. And it's not, the process is not similar to MSU. So this one, you definitely have to be admitted into SEMO. So definitely apply. You need to be a first generation student, have a 3.0 or above. You do need to have a 21 on the ACT or higher for this scholarship. And you do need to have demonstrated a financial need. So this one is a little bit different for SEMO. And with this one, you actually, you don't interview with their board, but you will interview with their office. So there's the office of, don't give me the line, but it's an office of scholarships at the school. And so you have an interview with them, and then they will award you the scholarship from there. And so to apply for this scholarship, it's similar to MSU. So you need ACT score, SAT, you need to have a resume. If you have that, that helps. A high school transcript, do your FAFSA so you can add that student aid report in there. You will need a recommendation letter that's not from a Wyman staff member. So that one is a plot twist. So a teacher, if you're involved in anything in the community, if you have a job, anyone who can vouch for you, need a recommendation letter from them, and you will also need 2 essays. And so for these 2 scholarships, I will say, since they aren't open yet, what you all can start working on is your essays, and we can help you all edit that. I know Coach Royal is going to talk more about essays towards the end of this presentation, but I highly recommend you all working on your essays now if you're interested in attending MSU or SEMO and applying for this scholarship. Amen. All right. Moving up next, one of our new scholarships is with St. Louis University, so that's SLU. But the only thing is specific, so only if you're interested in going into the education field. So this scholarship is through their School of Education at SLU. So if you're interested in having a career and getting a degree in education, so becoming a teacher, you know, education is really broad, but if you're interested in getting a degree in education, this scholarship is for you. The specifics are all in there. And the requirements, you'll need your FAFSA, student aid report, ACT and SAT scores, a high school transcript, and essays as well. And you will need a 2.0 grade average or higher. And this scholarship is really great. We have some students who got it, and it's pretty seamless. You just have to get accepted into SLU, and then they'll take it from there. All right. The next one is UMSL. This is a newer scholarship as well. This one is a little bit different because all you need to do is get admitted to UMSL and then let us know you got admitted. And because you're a Wyman student, we hit them up, say, hey, Jordan Russell got accepted to UMSL. She's interested in going there. And so what they do is you automatically get a $1,000 scholarship from UMSL. And then because UMSL has other scholarships, you have the possibility to get that scholarship stacked onto others. So you get a $1,000 scholarship to go to UMSL, and it's not that expensive. So with the Pell Grant, like what Teresa was talking about, and then with the New Era scholarship, the possible $12,000, you can be at UMSL potentially for free with the scholarship on top of the other scholarships. So UMSL is a stackable scholarship. All right, and then we have the Greer Foundation Scholarship. This one is specifically for STEM students. So if you're interested in going into the science field, technology, engineering, or mathematics field, this is the scholarship for you with the Greer Scholarship. It's really great. It's definitely for graduating high school seniors. So a lot of these scholarships, almost all of them are for graduating high school seniors, except UMSL. So you all, if you're interested in any of these things, apply this year, because once you graduate from high school, you're kind of stuck like Chuck on the scholarships. You have to find other ones, except UMSL, I think, is the only one that would apply outside of high school, okay? And those requirements are there, and I'm gonna send you all this document so that you can look through. I don't wanna go over my time as well. And then Ranken, okay, we got something for everybody. We got something for the community schools, okay, the 2-year, the 4-year, the trade. If you're interested in going into the trade, Ranken, we have an opportunity for you, another board member will pay for you to go to the schools. This is another board funded scholarship. You can get up, they cover, I wanna say, over 55% of the cost. So it's not a full ride, but it can take care of a lot of the cost. And then once again, if you do that one, in conjunction with the New Era Scholarship, you're chilling. So hello, get these blessings because they're there. We have the opportunities, okay? And then of course we have New Era, like Teresa talked about in detail. And so here again are the details and the specifics of that scholarship so that you all have options. So that is a total of 6 opportunities you all have to get your lives in order. Any questions about what I discussed? And I discussed a lot. So do we have any questions about the actual Wyman Partner Scholarships? All right, must mean I did a good job. Amen. Okay, wonderful. We love it. Once again, all this information will be sent to you. We're recording this. The YouTube will be sent. The documents will be sent. So if you had any, thank you, Ms. Russell. I try to give good information. Okay, wonderful. All right, so we're going to keep it going. I'm going to get the presentation up so that we can talk more about outside scholarships in case none of these tickle your fancy. We have some more scholarships we're going to talk through as well. Okay. So I'll go ahead and share the screen, Anissa. Does that work for you? Or did you want to share your screen?
You can. I just want to show an example of one of the web pages I had on the slides.
Okay, we can go ahead and share your screen. That'll work easier then.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So here's the lovely presentation. So first we have the lovely list of partners that we have that Ed just had already went over of the scholarships that Wyman offers. And then these are just a few more scholarships. They are, like Teresa said, there are literally tons of scholarships for everything. When I was an undergrad, I literally just typed in Google different types of scholarships, and several popped up. But here are a few websites and their links. I include the links as well because a few do not pop up when you first type them in Google. You might have to search for them a little. So I included the links. So we have like STL Graduates, Scally, HBCU Connect, Affordable College Online, United Negro College Fund, Thurgood Marshall, and Peterson's. And a lot of colleges have their own webpage for scholarships that they offer as well. They have a list, where like a long page of different scholarships, such as Central Missouri, UMSL does this, Harrisville State. These are just examples. St. Louis Community College. This is in my way. Sorry, I'm trying to, I can move it, okay. So, like St. Louis Community College has this lovely list of different kinds of scholarships. They literally have scholarships for a lot of different things, like summer boot camp, athletic scholarships, a book scholarship. But it isn't just like general scholarships they offer. Another one, when I went to UCM, we had a thing called Most Sense, and there's just another web page for scholarships. They include the deadlines. They also let you know like who's eligible for these scholarships. Another one, just the example that I had was UMSL. I also had another web page, and they also have, some of them include external scholarships. They have extra scholarships outside of what their school offers. So this is just another resource page that you can use, even if you do not attend UMSL. This is still a helpful resource page, just for extra websites to look up. And then another thing I just wanted to add, on top of that, a lot of, if you're in an organization at your school, they also provide different scholarships. When I was at UCM, I was in an organization called Underdogs, which is a mentee/mentor organization. And they also provided their own scholarship inside of that. So we had a scholarship for mentor and mentees, for upperclassmen and lowerclassmen. So there's just a ton of different types of places where you could get scholarships from. Some scholarships, even if you're not eligible for the scholarship, it's okay to apply for it, because some scholarships, there are people that's like not applying for them at all. So they literally just give them out to whoever applies for them, even if you're not eligible. And that is my piece.
All right, Anissa, can you keep it up for me?
Yes.
Because I'll tell you when to click. All right. And just to add on to what Anissa said, there it's also alumni groups, and sometimes you can find out through, once you're in school, you might find people who are from the same state as you, and they can let you know about the group if you're going out of state. I know I went to Philander, which is in Arkansas, and I found people who are from St. Louis, and they told me that there's an alumni group who does offer scholarships because we are from there. So you can also tap into that. You can, I understand that Morehouse, they have actually like a page. So you can also look up alumni of St. Louis for whichever school and find out if they have scholarships there as well for your students. In order for you to get these scholarships that we just talked about, you do have to write an essay, and that's what I'm here to talk about, okay? So this first slide is about using your community. When you go into this essay, I know for me as a student, I didn't really know what I was doing. Initially, I was kind of thrown into it, never wrote an essay for scholarships. So I was like, I don't know what to do. But using my community did help me. So your community is your parents, your guardians, coaches, and teachers. So we're here for you. We tell you this, blow our phones up, as Alexandria would say, okay, because we don't pay for these, okay? So if you need us, call us. Ask your teachers and your counselors. How we all can help is we can answer any kind of questions you may be having. Network, we might not be able to answer the question, but we might know somebody who can, okay? So that's something you can ask us to do, and we can also edit and proofread these papers. So if you're like, I don't know how good this is, or if you feel like you really proofread it, still give it to somebody in your community to look over, because it's always going to have a little advice, you know, to hear back about what you've done. So counselors, they can do a few extra things that we may not can do, okay? So you will want to go to your counselors for transcripts. For any juniors that may be on here, you want to start having conversations now. So any 9th through 11th grade, you want to get a relationship with your counselor, because when senior year comes, everybody is going to be rushing to their office to ask for transcripts, ACT waivers, whatever comes with senior year. And so you want to be consistent with your counselor so they remember you. And if things pop up, any opportunities, so like the A+ program, they also help in that area. If your school has any scholarships that they're offering, or if they know of any alumni who are coming in and they've seen your face and they know that you're in need, that is why we have these relationships. That's why we have them a part of our community. So if you're a senior, you don't know who your counselor is, make sure you go figure it out tomorrow, okay? And if you need help, call us. We'll go figure out who your counselor is, okay? And they're also good for recommendations. So they may not be your first person you go to, but if you have a really great relationship and they know you, then I would definitely ask them. But like Teresa said earlier, you want to pick someone who really knows you, who has great things to say about you when it comes to recommendations. So us as coaches, we do recommendation letters for our students. So you can ask us, you can ask your teachers. If you've worked anywhere, make sure you use that community as well. Anybody from your church, that could be helpful. And sometimes there's specifics for scholarships. So they'll say you need one from a teacher and one from a mentor. So just have a list of people that you know that wouldn't mind doing this, and make sure that you're asking them at least 2 weeks in advance before it's happening, okay? Give them time to write something good. You could do it the day before, but we don't know how good that's gonna look, okay? Or if they can even complete it. So make sure you're thinking of people right now for these scholarships, okay? All right, we can go to the, before I move on, you can stay here though. Did anybody have any questions on that slide? Nope, we all good? All right, bless his glory. All right, so now we're getting into tips and tricks for essay writing, okay? So the first thing you want to do is know your audience. And what I mean by that is know who we're writing to. So use your community, and I'm going to keep going back to using your community. So if you have some people who are part of Wyman who have now persisted into college and a university, and you know they've applied for this scholarship, ask them about, you know, what they were looking for. If they received a scholarship, ask them about how they brought their essay together, okay? So know your audience, know who you're writing to, know what they're looking for, all right? Brainstorm. So once you've gotten this prompt, and just start writing ideas down. You can list them out. You don't have to go straight into creating this essay. List out ideas, list out things that you thought of while reading the prompt, okay? It might not be the thing you end up writing about, but if it was something that popped up, you can still use that later on. It might help you get to what you need to write, okay? Prompt clarification, answering the prompt. So ask questions, okay? Sometimes these prompts, you will be like, I don't know if this is really what they asked me, but this is what I can write because this makes more sense to me. Ask questions. So sometimes you can go to the people who are over the scholarship, but if not, make sure you're going to your community. Ask parents, okay, is this what they're asking me? Ask coaches, we're here to do that, especially for like the MSU scholarships. We've been doing this for quite a while, so we know what they're looking for. We can clarify some things for you. And what I mean by answering the prompt, sometimes we'll get to writing and kind of get away from ourselves because we're telling a story about ourselves and things that we forget to answer what was said, okay? So make sure you're answering the prompt and make sure you're picking relevant topics. So sometimes you'll have a scholarship that gives you multiple prompts to choose from. Make sure you're choosing something that's personal to you, that's close to you, that you can write about, that'll be easier for you to write about. Write about. Because there might be one that you feel like, well, this sounds better, and maybe I could pull this out. Maybe they'll like it if I wrote about this. No, because then now you're stretching yourself to write about something that you don't really know about or that's not as close to you, okay? So make sure it's a personal experience and embrace your creativity. So, excuse me, embrace your creativity. So Ed just talked to us earlier about how she had read an essay where a student compared her life to, I believe, a plant or a tree that she grew, and just show how they grew together and just compared their life. And that was something interesting, something different. So you do want to you do want to consider that the people who are reading these essays are reading a million essays, okay? So you want to use something that's going to stand out. Use jokes. That's always good. You throw in a joke in there and people will remember that. So embrace your creativity. What else can you use? I was about to say use art, you can, but just get creative. You know, just know it doesn't have to be like, I did this, I overcame it like this. We do want those things in here, but we also want to know who you are. That's why we're asking for personal experience. Show us your personality through the essay, okay? And like I said before, make sure somebody reads it. I am one who would read over and thought I did good, and somebody is sitting back and like, you missed all of this? Did you see all of these grammatical errors? I'd be like, I didn't. I wasn't. Because after a while, if you look at that paper so long, you're like, yeah, it's fine. It'll be okay. And make sure you're prepping early, because I know a lot of us are just write it and send it over and we don't got time to proofread. Make sure you have enough time to look over and have one or maybe two people look over it just in case, okay? And that comes down to using your community. And all of this, come talk to us, talk to your parents, talk to your teacher, whoever is in your community. If you're needing help recognizing who's in your community, come talk to us. We'll let you know. If you be like, I don't know if my sister is, she works here. Yes, that's your community, okay? You got a friend down the street or somebody you cut grass and y'all have conversations. That is your community, okay? And we want to use them when writing these essays, all right? And that was end of my slide here. Do you guys have any questions?